Welcome everybody, welcome to Suffield's Alumni Leadership Day. In a few minutes, Mr. Regal will give an overview about the history of our Alumni Leadership Award. We are pleased that our 2023 recipient, Manny Simons, is here today with his wife Caroline and his parents Despina and Bill. Welcome to all of you. This week will bring many athletic contests and events on campus. I want to briefly mention two and a few things related to next week. On Wednesday, we will formally dedicate the softball dugouts to the Booth family. A friend of Suffield named Bill Hardy donated the dugouts to honor Carol Booth, Patrick's wife, and Lauren and Nick's mom, who passed away in 2018, and the Booth family for their commitment to Suffield. Carol was a fun, positive, loving person who took great joy in helping students at Suffield in unsung, loving ways behind the scenes. Second, on Saturday at noon, we will have a celebration of Andy Lowe's remarkable life on Bell Hill. Mrs. Cam and I and others have been working with Andrea Lowe and their children, Graham, Jeff, and Emily, to plan the event. All of you are free to join us. Next Monday during the chapel, we will have a buffet lunch instead of sit-down lunch and advisor meetings. During this period, a good long chunk of time for you to get some food elsewhere if you'd like, or do something creative as advisee groups. Our final two chapel meetings will be the student council elections and a senior class meeting on May 15th about graduation details, and our Kent Davis speaking contest on May 22nd. Now turning to today's special event, I want to open by telling you that Manny is doing important work in the field of biotechnology, centered on improving the human condition. He's a scientist, a business leader, and a musician. Mr. Regal will share more specifics about Manny's career, but his current work is centered on developing the first gene therapy to treat hearing loss. After graduating from Suffield, Manny studied at Harvard and MIT. I was Suffield's director of admissions when we accepted Manny, and we knew even at a young age that we were enrolling a multi-talented, kind, exceptional young man. We were also fortunate to have Manny's brother Billy here as part of Suffield's class of 2002. Before we turn to Mr. Regal and Billy, I thought you would enjoy seeing Billy as a Suffield student and some of his peers and teachers from the late 1990s. This was a video we used for student recruitment that tries to capture the culture and philosophy of our school. In it, you will see some Suffield legends like my predecessor as headmaster David Holmes, Mr. Godin, Mrs. Can's father Dave Rockwell, art teacher Bill Butcher, Spanish teacher Amparo Sami, and Bob Stanley, who was our dean of students at the time. And you will see much younger versions of Mr. and Mrs. Can. I enjoy seeing through this film how Suffield's essence has remained unchanged, even as this campus has grown in truly remarkable ways. You will see Manny wrestling and then playing music around the 10-minute mark. Enjoy. Mr. Regal.
I was looking for a school that had a lot of closeness, a lot of cordiality, and Suffield seemed like the perfect place.
Everyone was so friendly. I had people coming up and introducing themselves just out of the blue.
It's more of a family atmosphere than you sort of get by going to a bigger school where you can sort of get lost in the flow.
It's big enough so that you get to meet new people, it seems like every day, but it's small enough so that it still feels like a family-sized community.
Once you have that community, people feel safer, and you're a lot more comfortable.
There was just something very intriguing about just the atmosphere to me. After I was through with my interview, I said to my mom, this is it. This is where I want to go.
Fellas, that is fantastic spirit. It's fantastic as well, too.
think there's an immediate sense when a person walks on the Suffield campus that this is a community in which people connect.
One of the things we've tried to hold on to as a school is keeping a small size, but keeping a really broad palette of choices for students in every dimension of life.
When I think about students at Suffield, the first word that comes to my mind is involved, and it's truly amazing what they're able to accomplish in their time here.
The unique quality of Suffield is our ability to combine the time-honored and the traditional, as well as the innovative and the unique responses to a changing world, and that's certainly reflected in the educational program of the school.
Very caring, very understanding, very nourishing environments created by our faculty and staff here.
If your whole screen, when you have your coordinate system, goes from only 0 to 1, how can you make a circle of 6? First, you need...
Every student has an advisor, and I think we do a very good job of keeping track of our students and communicating between ourselves and among ourselves how our students are doing.
There's at least one adult on this campus who has a pulse on every student here. And it works. It works.
Got extra help on my writing.
Here we have Foolscrow for the first time really taking on a challenge by himself. What are some of the conflicts?
They tried to banish him, didn't work, boom, take his life.
Just because he dies in the end doesn't mean he was defeated.
There's a real shift in terms, it doesn't feel like a job, so I guess that's why I know I'm in the right place, because it feels like life, it feels like what I should be doing, it fits.
The question we have to ask ourselves as a faculty every year is, how are we helping a student find out who he or she is? And more importantly, how do we help them find out who they can become?
You don't do something without considering the implications of it 7 generations into the future.
Your emotions are always going to be involved in some way, whether it's like envy or greed. Galileo asked questions. He questioned what had been imposed upon them.
Well, I work very hard to make the classroom an exciting experience for the kids. I feel really strongly about that, and I've been doing it long enough so that I really feel that I have a sense of changing dynamics within the classroom. To me, sometimes it's almost like directing an orchestra.
Democratic, sort of egalitarian kind of situation. He did not like the idea. Are people by nature prone to argue with each other?
You're in a good mood and you're happy about stuff and you're content. You're like,
The type of student who's here is a high energy, high enthusiasm student.
The kids who are willing to work, who are willing to extend themselves, that accept the challenge that the school has to offer, they are the ones who succeed.
Suffield has changed my life. It's made me be my own person and given me responsibilities and made me follow through with those.
There's an incredible mixture of students that come through these rooms every day. These days, they come from every part of the world.
Having international students at this school and kids from all different cultural backgrounds and having a really diverse population at the school, it really opens up your eyes, and it's almost like you're experiencing the world through other people.
I'm from Lithuania, and the first thing when I came here was thinking that it's nice to learn about the culture, like American culture, and at the same time to tell people what Lithuania is all about.
Suffield is a very large family. I think you feel it most at lunch when you're sitting in this huge room with everybody in the community right there.
Open mic show, is that good? It's our daily family gathering, and the closeness that I think represents Suffield is brought to bear. There are a lot of smiling faces at lunchtime.
It reminds me of dinner time at home. It's definitely like a home-style meal, and you feel so at home and so at ease. It's a good social time, and it's just very comfortable and very relaxing. So I think that's what people really enjoy.
I got to meet a lot of people because every 2 or 3 weeks those tables would shift, and I got to meet new people who I knew maybe I'd heard about them or heard their name, but I didn't know them that well. And this is how I got to know people.
It's bringing everyone together, and I think that's important.
It's just as important to see what it doesn't have as what it does have.
This afternoon we're gonna hike this trail. We've been on it several times in the last couple of years. We've been doing some work on it. It's a nice day out. Probably spend a couple hours out here.
It's a classic New England town, the town of Suffield. The campus, not too large, not too small.
When I first come down the street, I just say, wow, it's beautiful.
When I first came to Suffield, it was spring day. It was early May, and it was glorious. And the campus was beautiful. It makes you feel part of nature.
We were the first school in the nation in which every student has a laptop computer. And we have been very innovative in the classroom, certainly led by the faculty, led by the students in the way we have asked the question, how can a computer assist what we're doing in the classical liberal arts curriculum that we have?
I love having a laptop because I can bring it with me wherever.
We have our own program called Suffield Online, or SOL. We can send emails to our teachers through there. We can get emailed by the teachers. We have open class discussions on there.
They can plug into this network all over the school, in the dormitory rooms, in the classrooms, in the library, in the student union. So the idea is to take this piece of machinery with you, wherever you go, wherever you need it, plug it in, and get your work done. Not only are we using these for academic purposes, but we need to get them used to seeing this technology as part of their life.
It's good for you to be playing every day. I wrote that in your advisor comment.
Yeah, I'm so much more comfortable this year.
Obviously. That's pretty clear. I wrote that too.
I play field hockey, and my advisor is also my coach. When I found that out, I was a little nervous because I thought, wow, she's going to be watching me all the time, every move I make. But I think that it's really made us grow closer and have a stronger bond.
Which would be good, but not on the right track.
For me, athletics is really important. I like staying in shape, and I love playing field hockey.
Historically, Suffield has placed a very high value on not only the intellectual and the mental, but the physical health of our students, and that continues to the present day.
Let's go. Settle down, control the ball. Here we go. Here we go. Team on three. 1, 2, 3, 10.
Our feeling has been and still is that competition of athletics on an interscholastic level is the epitome of what you're trying to teach kids.
Play a little cat and mouse. They're going to
The challenge of trying something they've never tried before, to be able to work with others and push themselves. We feel those same kind of traits are going to be important no matter what they do in life.
For the size of our school, Suffield definitely has a great sports program. We play schools the same size as us till up to almost 1,000 students in their school. And we are very competitive with them, and that's part of a lot of our school pride and spirit. They will go out and beat these teams.
I think athletics at Suffield are one of the greater aspects of the all-around education that you get here. And it's great because it's an outlet. Piano or music in general and wrestling are kind of opposites. And I think that's why I do both of them. Because after practicing 2 hours wrestling, it feels good to just switch and go 180 degrees and practice piano for 2 hours or an hour. You get 2 different perspectives kind of life. When I play music, it makes me feel good. I guess that's the only way I can explain it.
Singing in a choir for me, I really enjoy it. It's good because you share experiences. It's taking tons of different knowledge and just fusing it together so that it comes out into something that's beautiful.
This area, I might develop a little bit more
Yeah.
if you look at it. And the fish have a little bit of white in them too.
Yeah, a little bit streakier.
Really and truly, arts have emerged as one of the very strongest curricular areas at Suffield.
What's so incredibly important is when you represent a disc, and that's really what these sprockets are. The kind of learning that takes place in art is very rich. It causes a young person to have to be very resourceful and to reach very deep for answers to a question that they perhaps have never been confronted with before. It really has a lot to do with getting to know yourself.
Now, to do that in a drawing, you have to just keep that flow going. It's about flow.
What does that have to do with the fact that this story keeps coming? I think Suffield is a community of people who really, truly care about who you are and how you're developing.
To be a part of a community where I have a faculty team and an administrative team and students that are pointed in the same direction and aspiring high is a tremendous satisfaction.
Wanted to take each part of the
When the time comes for leaving Suffield, I think that I'm gonna miss the feeling of a community, knowing everyone, and it's gonna be really different without them.
I'm probably going to miss most the people at Suffield. It's relationships that you make for life.
I love it here. I can't ever imagine working or teaching anywhere else.
It is an exciting place. It's a place that I love. It's a place that I am committed to. It's home. It really is home.
Good afternoon, Suffield. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Suffield Academy Alumni Leadership Day ceremony and to provide you with some history regarding the awards. The Alumni Leadership Awards were created by the Suffield Academy Alumni Association to recognize graduates for outstanding leadership in their professional field or communities. I encourage you to read the profiles of previous recipients on the Suffield website. You can't help but be inspired by both the magnitude and diversity of the accomplishments of the women and men who have received this award. Briefly, the selection process works like this. Nominations are solicited from all members of the Suffield Academy community. The selection committee then reviews and researches the nominations and finally votes. This year, we have invited my good friend, Manny Simons, to receive the Alumni Leadership Award. As Charlie said, we are so pleased that he's joined by his wife, Caroline, and his mother and father, Despina and Bill Simons. Unfortunately, Manny's children, Zoe and Hugo, future Suffield Tigers, had other commitments today. Manny was a four-year day student from Ludlow, Mass, and he graduated in 2000. As Charlie said, his younger brother, Billy, graduated 2 years later. It's fair to say that Manny took Suffield by storm. During his time here, he was inducted into both the Torch Society and the Cum Laude Society. He received the Harvard Book Prize, the Emmett Kent English Prize, the Brett Vianney MVP Award for Wrestling, and finally, the Faculty Award for Citizenship and Service. Manny was also the president of the student body his senior year. Manny went on to study neuroscience and music at Harvard University, and then earned his PhD in biomedical engineering from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, followed by a Master's of Business Administration from Harvard Business School. Much to his parents' relief, Manny finally got a job. He worked in the biotech company, for biotech companies including Voyager Therapeutics, a publicly traded gene therapy company, developing potential treatments for central nervous system disorders. In 2016, Manny co-founded Aquos, with other leaders in the field of otology, genetics, and gene therapy from Harvard Medical School, Mass Eye and Ear, and the University of Iowa. Aquos develops gene therapies for hearing loss and the inner ear disorders, and Manny serves as Chief Executive Officer. Akeros had a successful IPO in 2020 and was the first company to receive clearance from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to begin clinical trials for a genetic form of hearing loss. It was acquired in 2022 by Eli Lilly and Company and continues to operate as a wholly owned subsidiary in Boston. Suffield is proud to recognize Manny Simons for his groundbreaking achievements centered on improving human life, and I am honored to welcome him back to campus as this year's recipient of Suffield Academy's Alumni Leadership Award. Manny.
Thanks very much, Phil. Thanks, Charlie. It's really, really wonderful to be here. I love coming back to Suffield. Every time I do come back, I feel I don't come back enough, and I'm grateful and honored to be the recipient of this award. I honestly feel unworthy of the recognition given the lifelong contributions of those who received the award before me, but this honor will help me reinforce my own commitment to leading in a way that's worthy of the recognition as I carry forward. So thank you to the entire community for having me here today. I will try to keep this very brief. I know it's after lunch. Everybody has a lot of more exciting things to do. I have there's 3 things I want to share with you over about 8 minutes. First is kind of like a candid, minimally revisionist history from my time at Suffield to now that you might not find in kind of more formal bios. Second, some reflection on the role the Suffield community had in shaping my view of leadership broadly, and how I felt Suffield helped me find my voice as a leader. And then third, I thought I'd try to leave you with some of my hopes and wishes for all of you as you move forward on your own unique paths. So to start, I'll share a Suffield memory with you. It was 20 years ago, so 2003. I remember one of the first Alumni Leadership Award recipients was Dr. John Adler, I think class of 72. He was is a neurosurgeon, inventor of the CyberKnife, which was I think, the first fully robotic radio therapy device. I was in college working through pre-med courses with some mixed results. Not sure if I wanted to go into medicine, do biomedical research, think about if there were a way to do both of those things. I had started college thinking that I would be a neurosurgeon, much like Dr. Adler. But between freshman and junior years, I was discovering new things about myself, one after the other, that were opening alternate paths that I couldn't even have imagined possible when I graduated from Suffield. In addition to the pre-med work, I was studying music theory. I was exploring a field I had never heard of called ethnomusicology. I joined a singing group that went on world tours, and I also was diagnosed with a chronic autoimmune disease that was something that I'd never heard of when I was in high school. And eventually I did take some time off from school to pursue full-time scientific research, dissecting mouse ears to try to understand the physiology of hearing in labs at Mass Pioneer and Mass General Hospital. So to my surprise, I ended up falling in love with research, with biomedical research, and never went to medical school, even after working through all that pre-med coursework. And by 2012, so this is a full decade plus after leaving Suffield, it was not at all clear what I was doing. I had no idea. And at that time, by that time I'd completed a PhD. I'd worked in a hospital licensing intellectual property office. I'd gone to business school. For a few months during that journey, as my wife Caroline was beginning her career at a big law firm, I was unemployed and spending most of the day playing Call of Duty, elbow deep in a family-sized bag of Cheetos. There was really nothing that looked like anything like a master plan. And in fact, right around that time, I had an interview for a job at a prominent venture capital firm in New York. The interview said, Manny, I'm having a really hard time making sense of your resume. It looks like you just do whatever you want every few years. And I'm really not interested in hiring someone like that. I need someone to just do what I tell them to do, whether you like it or not. And I mean, that interviewer was very good in the candor department. And to his credit, he was exactly right about what had driven my decision making to that point. And also, he made a good call that I wasn't going to be a good fit at that firm. But even after that, it would take another 4 years to 2016 before I felt like all of these disparate, seemingly unconnected shards of experience started to coalesce into something, some semblance of meaning, at least from a professional perspective. So in the founding of KUOPS, as you heard, a company built with leading scientists and physicians to develop gene therapies with the potential to restore hearing, I had an opportunity to channel this kind of oddball collection of experiences into something I felt was worthwhile. Finding ways to make the gift of hearing available to everyone. My love of music, the pre-med coursework, the lab experience, trying to understand the ear and hearing and the relationships I had built along the way, they helped me understand that hearing loss was an area of immense unmet medical need. I had always felt strongly that hearing enriches our experiences and our interactions with the world around us and with each other. And now I was beginning to see a glimmer of a path, or at least the beginning of one, to be a part of making that accessible to others. So I rehash all of this just to emphasize that when I was a student at Suffield Academy, I thought I had a pretty good general sense of where I was headed, and I wasn't even close. And what I do today wasn't anywhere in my consciousness 25 years ago. Where I am today, certainly not the culmination of some perfect plan I charted when I was a high school student. And as far as I can tell, I've arrived at this point doing what engaged me the most, along the way trying to learn as much as possible, trying to surround myself with wonderful people who are motivated to do things that might improve people's lives, and getting a lot of help from a lot of people every step of the way. So this would be a good, I should thank my parents who are here. Thank you. That's the additional color background part. I try to remember that not everybody has the opportunity to make the choices and decisions that I have, because there are other demands on their lives at different points in time. So what I just encourage you all to do is, when you feel you have the ability to make choices in that way and make those kinds of decisions, that you feel encouraged to do so. So I want to share a little bit now about how I feel Suffield prepared me for what I've been experiencing over the past 20 years. Because I do feel like my approach to life was made possible because of what I learned here at Suffield about community and leadership. Only recently have I appreciated that, though it took the better part of 2 decades after graduating Suffield before I could see what I was doing. It was what I learned here at Suffield that prepared me to go down that path. Another brief story. So I was sitting in chapel here. It was at Suffield in 1998. So it was the beginning of my junior year, and chapel was in the chapel across the street. It was an award ceremony, so I don't know what the calendar was then exactly, but I do remember that I was hoping or maybe expecting to get an award for some achievement that I thought was noteworthy, and I didn't get the award, and I think at first I was a little angry, but what speaks to me now about the strength of the Suffield community was what I felt later that day. Because I no longer remember what the award was, I don't remember who got it, but what I do remember is the realization and the internalization later that day that my value as an individual, as a member of the community here, had little to do with the award, and much more to do with what I chose to contribute to those around me moving forward. So the experience, it really did, it catalyzed learnings that I would experience the rest of that year and beyond, that helped me see the extent to which great things come from a generosity of contribution as opposed to some accounting of transactional give and take. Suffield Academy is a very special place. I know you hear it all the time. Some of you, depending on when it is and what else is going on in your lives, may believe it more than others. But I do feel the need to restate it here today. I've been fortunate to spend time at a number of great institutions and work with some of the most impressive and accomplished people on the planet, but it's here at Suffield that I first felt the value of community and the role of a supportive community in empowering every individual to be themselves. It was at Suffield that I learned that people are the center of everything of meaning, and that fostering a genuine concern for others is an absolute prerequisite to developing authentic leadership and to having a positive impact on the world. These learnings for me have been constant in the 23 years since I left Suffield. With the support of this community and its acceptance of each unique individual, Suffield encouraged me to approach the world with curiosity and built in me a confidence to embrace complexity and really work to get inside of and understand what sometimes seem like contradictions. To lead with questions rather than statements, to listen before coming to conclusions about what's so important to say. In this way, I feel Suffield set a foundation that allowed me to find my voice as a leader. Learning how to ask good questions, actively listening to how different people with different life experiences approach those questions. This is what took me, I believe, from what first felt like meandering curiosity to a vision of the future that I thought was worthwhile to work for. And that brings me to what I hope for all of you. So I'll share just a confession for you all before I do that. As I was scrambling to think of what I could say to you today, and I tried to put myself in the shoes of smart, savvy, worldly high school students who have easy and instant access to all human knowledge, what you might do in this situation. So I went and asked ChatGPT to write a speech for me. And the output was really, really good. It incorporated important aspects of leadership. It included references to prominent leadership scholars. It even worked in Esse Pompaderi, Suffield Academy motto, and its relevance to integrity and authenticity, so critical to inclusive leadership. But the more I read, the more apparent it was that though it was clear, concise, cogent, it was someone else's voice. It wasn't mine. And of course, the irony around the motto was not subtle, to be rather deceived. So, but the exercise did help me think about what I might want to share with you all today. So with some additional reflection, I felt that the most meaningful message I could leave you with is some simple but heartfelt encouragement about moving forward in this increasingly complex, rapidly changing world from a foundation of curiosity and with a comfort in not always having the answer. The best questions often don't have clear answers, at least not at first, so please don't hesitate to acknowledge what you don't know. You don't need to know exactly where you're going before you get started. And facing away from the unknown rather than into it is a common trap that emerges from popular depictions of the archetypal leader, the charismatic commander who acts decisively and inspires others to follow unwavering confidence and path forward. In reality, at least from what I've seen, the most effective and inspiring leaders recognize that the magic happens when there's clarity about what they don't know, and acknowledge that much of the future is out of their control, but still unite a group of people who come together and do what each of them knows they can never do on their own. So my wish for all of you is that each of you feels comfortable putting in the difficult and often uncomfortable work to find your own unique voice. Regardless of your area of focus, whether it's the arts, the sciences, the humanities, athletics, I hope you can put yourself in a position to work relentlessly to find your voice as a human being and as a leader. Direct your energy outward, lead with questions, actively listen. It's tempting to turn your gaze inward in search of your voice, but as leaders, we have no voice without the community around us. We can find our voice only when we've been brought together, we brought together people who otherwise wouldn't be together, working together to do something meaningful that wouldn't be possible but for the cooperative work of those individuals. I believe the community you have here around you today puts you all in a position to embark on that kind of journey. Each of you has a unique voice and a unique contribution to make, and it's absolutely okay if you don't know what that looks like or how you'll discover it. In fact, if you think you do know that today, you're probably not asking enough questions. Thank you.
We'd like to have a brief meeting with our senior class with your advisors, Mrs. Salvatelli and Mrs. Tassoni. All the rest of you are excused. Have a great afternoon.